The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. The Seattle sky was its usual shade of gray, mirroring the mood that had settled over me these last few weeks. I'm Griffin, and until recently I thought I had a pretty good life. I'm 43, work as an IT consultant, and I've been married to Beatrix for 15 years. We have 2 kids, a comfortable house in the suburbs, and what I believed was a solid, loving relationship. But lately, things had felt off. Beatrix, a freelance graphic designer, had been working late more often, attending conferences out of state, and generally seemed distant. Her phone was always glued to her hand, and she'd snap it shut whenever I entered the room. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to stress from work, but a nagging feeling persisted in the back of my mind. One evening, I came home early from a business trip. I had managed to wrap things up ahead of schedule and decided to surprise Beatrix. I walked in the front door, calling out her name, but the house was silent. I figured she was still at work, so I went upstairs to unpack. As I opened the bedroom door, I noticed her laptop was open on the bed. Normally, she's meticulous about closing it, especially with the kids around. Curiosity, or perhaps a darker instinct, got the better of me. I walked over and glanced at the screen. It was an email from someone named Alaric. The subject line read, "Can't wait until Friday." My heart pounded in my chest as I clicked on it. The words swam before my eyes, each sentence a dagger twisting in my gut. "My dearest Beatrix," it began. "Counting down the hours until I can hold you in my arms again. Our little getaway to Portland is going to be magical. I've booked us a room at that charming boutique hotel you love, the one with the fireplace. We can spend the weekend exploring the city, indulging in delicious food and losing ourselves in each other's embrace. I can't stop thinking about our last time together. Your touch, your kiss." The rest of the email was even more explicit. I felt sick, betrayed beyond words. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the message, each line confirming my worst fears. Beatrix was having an affair. I stumbled backward, knocking over a stack of books on the nightstand. The sound echoed in the silent room, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging inside me. I sank onto the bed, my mind reeling. How could she do this? After all these years, after everything we had built together, was our entire relationship a lie? I spent the next few hours in a daze, replaying memories in my head, searching for clues I had missed. Had there been signs? Of course there had been signs. Her increased absences, her secretive behavior, the way she flinched whenever I touched her. I had been so blind, so trusting. I had loved her with all my heart, and she had repaid me with betrayal. When Beatrix finally came home, I was sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the television. She walked in, her face lighting up when she saw me. "Griffin, what are you doing home so early?" she asked, her voice bright and cheerful. "I thought you weren't supposed to be back until tomorrow." I stood up, my voice cold and hard. "I know about Alaric," I said, watching her face fall. "Read your email." Eyes widened in shock, then narrowed with anger. "How dare you snoop through my emails?" she spat, her defensive tone infuriating me even more. "Dare I?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You're the one having an affair. You're the one betraying our marriage." "It's not what you think," she said, her voice softening slightly. "It's complicated," I scoffed. "What's complicated about sleeping with another man?" She hesitated, then sighed. "I've been unhappy for a long time, Griffin," she said. "We've grown apart. You're always working, always focused on your career. You don't pay attention to me anymore." "That's bullshit," I said, my anger boiling over. "I work hard to provide for our family. I thought we were happy. I thought we were a team." "We were," she said, "but things change, people change, so you decided to cheat instead of talking to me?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "I didn't know how to tell you." "Well, you found a pretty effective way," I said, turning away from her. "I want you to leave." "What?" she said, her voice laced with panic. "You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care," I said. "Just get out. I can't stand to look at you." Beatrix left that night, taking a few suitcases with her. The house felt empty and cold without her, but I knew I couldn't stay with someone who had betrayed me so deeply. I spent the next few weeks in a fog, barely eating or sleeping. I told the kids that their mother was away on a business trip, not wanting to burden them with the truth just yet. I hired a lawyer and started the divorce process. It was messy and painful, filled with accusations and recriminations. Beatrix tried to paint me as a workaholic, an emotionally unavailable husband, but I refused to let her rewrite our history. I had been a good husband, a good father, and I deserved better than this. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I decided to investigate Alaric. I hired a private investigator to dig into his background. What I discovered shocked me to my core. Alaric wasn't just some random guy Beatrix had met at a conference. He was an old flame from her college days, someone she had always carried a torch for. He was married himself, with 2 young children. The investigator provided me with photos of Beatrix and Alaric together, holding hands, kissing, laughing. They looked like teenagers in love, oblivious to the pain they were causing. I felt a surge of anger not just at Beatrix but at Alaric as well. He had knowingly broken up my marriage, destroyed my family. I decided I couldn't let him get away with it. I contacted his wife, a woman named Isolde, and told her everything. I provided her with the photos, the emails, everything I had. At first, she didn't believe me. She accused me of being a liar, a disgruntled ex-husband trying to ruin her life. But when she saw the evidence, the truth hit her like a ton of bricks. Isolde was devastated. She had been married to Alaric for 12 years, and she had always believed him to be a good, honest man. She confronted him with the evidence, and he denied it at first. But when she showed him the photos, he broke down and confessed everything. Isolde kicked him out of the house and filed for divorce. She was furious, not just at Alaric but at Beatrix as well. She called me, thanking me for telling her the truth. She said she didn't know how she could ever forgive Alaric, but she was grateful to know what kind of man he really was. As the dust settled, I found myself alone, divorced, and heartbroken. The kids were struggling to understand what had happened, and I felt guilty for disrupting their lives. But I knew I had done the right thing. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I focused on rebuilding my life, spending more time with my kids, pursuing hobbies I had neglected, and reconnecting with old friends. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to move forward to find happiness again. One day I received a call from Beatrix. She sounded distraught, her voice trembling. "Griffin," she said, "Alaric left me." "What?" I said, surprised. "What happened?" "He said he made a mistake," she said, sobbing. "He said he still loves Isolde and wants to try to win her back. He said our affair was just a fling, a momentary escape from his real life." I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me felt vindicated, knowing that Beatrix was finally experiencing the pain she had inflicted on me. But another part of me felt sorry for her. She had thrown away her marriage, her family, for a man who didn't truly love her. "I don't know what to do," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I've lost everything." "Can't help you, Beatrix," I said, my voice cold and distant. "You made your choices. Now you have to live with the consequences." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of closure. The rain had stopped and the sun was finally breaking through the clouds. I looked out the window, taking a deep breath. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time I felt a glimmer of hope. Time passed. The divorce was finalized and Beatrix moved out of state, hoping for a fresh start. I focused on my kids, my work, and myself. Slowly but surely I began to heal. I started dating again, cautiously optimistic about finding love again. I learned to trust my instincts, to be more open and honest in my relationships. One evening I was at a local art gallery, admiring the paintings on display. I struck up a conversation with a woman named Bront, a talented artist with a warm smile and a kind heart. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our dreams, our fears. I found myself drawn to her honesty, her vulnerability, her genuine interest in me. As we said goodbye, she turned to me and said, "Griffin, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Would you like to go out sometime?" I smiled, my heart filled with hope. "I would love that, Bront," I said. "I would love that very much." I realized that Beatrix's betrayal, as painful as it had been, had ultimately led me to a better place. It had forced me to reevaluate my life, to prioritize my happiness, and to open myself up to new possibilities. I had survived the storm, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Several years later, I received an unexpected email from Isolde. She had rebuilt her life as well, finding happiness and peace after the turmoil of her divorce. She was writing to let me know that Alaric had contacted her, begging for forgiveness and a second chance. She had refused him, telling him that she could never trust him again. She also told me that Alaric was now working as a janitor, having lost his prestigious job and his reputation. His affair with Beatrix had cost him everything. Karma had finally caught up to him. I smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction. Justice had been served. Beatrix and Alaric had both paid the price for their betrayal, and I, Griffin, had found my way back to happiness, to love, and to a life filled with hope and promise. The rain continued to fall outside, but inside my home the sun was shining. This is a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, resilience. Griffin, a loving husband and father, discovers his wife's devastating affair and navigates the painful journey of divorce and self-discovery. The tale explores the complexities of infidelity, the emotional turmoil it inflicts, and the long road to healing and finding love again. Beatrix's selfish actions and Alaric's destructive role lead to their own downfall, while Griffin emerges stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace a brighter future. Remember, even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a new beginning. Never let betrayal define you. Let it refine you. Until next time.